There is something you have never experienced that every generation before you had. Not money, not success, not talent, boredom, real boredom, the kind where you're sitting somewhere with nothing to do and nothing to look at, and you have no choice but to sit inside your own head. And I know what you're thinking, that sounds terrible. Why would anyone want that? But here's the thing, that discomfort you're avoiding, it was the engine behind almost everything meaningful humans have ever created, decided, and become. When psychologists study boredom, they don't describe it the way most people think about it. Boredom isn't emptiness, it's pressure. It's your brain signaling that the current situation is not stimulating enough, and that you need to go find something meaningful to do. It's an internal alarm, a push, an itch that forces you to move, to create, to think, to plan. Studies have shown that people who experience boredom regularly are more creative. They daydream more, and daydreaming is where ideas are born. They self-reflect more, which is where direction comes from. They feel restless enough to actually change things, which is where ambition starts. Boredom is not a problem, it's a feature. It's the feeling that precedes every good decision a human being ever made about their own life. And your generation is the first one to have it almost completely removed. Think about your day, really think about it. When was the last time you were waiting for something? A friend, a bus, a meal, and you just sat there? No phone, no earphones, no scroll, just you and the silence. It probably feels impossible to even imagine, because the moment any gap opens up in your day, something fills it. A notification, an autoplay video, a story, a reel, a text, an infinite queue of content designed by some of the most sophisticated engineers on the planet to make sure you never feel bored for even 30 seconds. That's not an accident. The entire business model of the attention economy depends on one thing, that you never stop consuming. The moment you stop, you might start thinking, and thinking people are harder to keep on the platform. So they engineered boredom out of your life, and they replace it with stimulation. Constant, frictionless, dopamine triggering stimulation that asks nothing of you and gives you just enough to keep going. Here's what nobody tells you about the deal you made. You traded discomfort for comfort. That sounds like a good trade, but what you actually traded was signal for noise. The discomfort of boredom was the signal. It was your brain telling you something. It was your instincts pushing you toward a question. What do I actually want? What do I care about? What should I do with my life? Every teenager who ever became something started by sitting in boredom long enough to hear that question. The kid who picked up a guitar at 14 wasn't inspired by a YouTube tutorial. They were bored on a Saturday afternoon and their hands needed something to do. The person who started writing wasn't chasing a career. They were alone with their thoughts long enough to realize they had something to say. The athlete who woke up before dawn wasn't following a routine someone sold them. They felt restless in a way that had to go somewhere. That restlessness is boredom, and without it, the question never gets asked. The itch never needs scratching. The drive never kicks in. You stay comfortable, you stay distracted, you stay exactly where you are. The attention economy doesn't care about you. I want you to understand something clearly. Then the platforms you use every day are not neutral tools. They are not designed to improve your life. They are designed to extract your attention and sell it. Every second you spend on them is a second they profit from. Every scroll is a transaction. You give your time and focus. They give you just enough stimulation to keep you coming back, and they are extraordinarily good at it. These companies employ entire teams of behavioral psychologists whose only job is to figure out how to keep you hooked. Variable reward systems, infinite scroll, notification timing. Every element is calculated. You're not scrolling because you're lazy. You're scrolling because you've been placed inside one of the most sophisticated behavioral systems ever built, and nobody told you it was designed to hold you. That doesn't mean it's hopeless, but it means you have to be conscious in a way previous generations never had to be, because previous generations didn't have this. They were bored by default. You have to choose boredom, deliberately, intentionally, against the pull of something engineered to stop you. What happens when you let yourself be bored? There's a term in neuroscience, the default mode network. It's the part of your brain that activates when you're not focused on a task, when you're sitting quietly, staring out a window, letting your mind drift. For a long time, scientists thought this was wasted brain activity. They called it the resting state. Then they studied it more carefully, and they found something remarkable. The default mode network is where you process your own identity. It's where you simulate the future, consider other perspectives, consolidate memory, and generate creative ideas. It is not the brain at rest. It is the brain doing its most important work, and it only activates when you are not consuming stimulation. Every time you reach for your phone in a moment of quiet, you're shutting off that process, interrupting the work your brain was trying to do for you. This is not a metaphor, this is neurological reality. The capacity to know yourself, to think clearly, to imagine your own future. These things happen in the gaps, and your generation has almost no gaps. What you can do, I'm not going to tell you to delete your apps. I'm not going to tell you to go sit in a field and stare at the sky for an hour a day, though honestly that wouldn't hurt. What I'm telling you is simpler than that. Start noticing the reflex. The moment a gap opens, you're waiting, you're in between, you're lying there not sleeping, and your hand moves towards your phone before you even made a decision. That reflex, that automatic reach for stimulation the moment discomfort appears. Just notice it and occasionally don't follow it. Just sit in the silence for a moment. Let the boredom exist. Let it be uncomfortable. Because what comes after that discomfort, on the thought that starts forming, the question that surfaces, the idea that has been waiting for a quiet moment, that's yours. That's the version of you that the attention economy is trying to keep quiet. Let that version think. The closing boredom was never the enemy, that it was the condition under which you became yourself. Every generation before you had it built into their days. Long afternoons with nothing happening, commutes without screens, evenings without infinite content, not because they were stronger or more disciplined, but because the alternative simply didn't exist. You live in a different world, one where the alternative always exists, is always one reach away, and is always optimized to win your attention. The question isn't whether you can compete with that, the question is whether you understand what's at stake when you let it win every single time. Because the thoughts you never think because you were always scrolling, the person you never become because you were always distracted, the life you never build because the signal was always buried under the noise. That's the cost, not entertainment, not fun, not even time. You.